This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Welcome to What's News Dunedin, brought to you by Hazur Kebab, the radio show that spawned from the 19,000 plus strong local Oti-Poti Dunedin What's News Dunedin Facebook group. The group that's been putting the social back into social media since 2020 with respectful adult debate and a sense of humour. I'm your host, Richard Knights. On today's show, we'll be talking to our wonderful guests, Holly Bramwell and Bridget, and I've forgotten her surname already, but from the Fern Collective, who'll be telling us a bit more about themselves and what they do, as well as helping us look back at the posts that generate the most interactions over the past 7 days on the What's News Dunedin Facebook group. I'm going to start by looking at what those posts are for this week, and the first one is the government and Chris Bishop threatening to throttle funding to local councils if too many road cones are used. The government again banning pay wave and credit card surcharges. That's caused quite a stir on the group itself, and plans to change the electoral laws and stop people registering to vote in the 13-day period before the elections. Welcome, Holly and Bridget.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
Good to have you on the show. Sorry, I forgot your surname, Bridget.
That's okay.
But in defence to myself, I wasn't expecting you on the show.
Yes.
Until you got here, which is cool. So that's fine. The more the merrier. If you've listened to the show again, and most people haven't, then we have a Pun Day Monday on the group, right? So on the Monday, I do a Pun Day Monday post. I get people to bring their best pun to the page, and the winner of the Pun Day Monday, and this is simply, it's non-scientific, the one that gets the most laugh reacts gets to come on the show. So I get to bring that to the show and see if it comes off the page and into real life, and see whether it gets any laughs or not. You're under no obligation to laugh, but I tend to find these quite funny, to be fair. So the pun of the week for this week is a German walks into a bar and asks for a martini. The bartender asks, "Dry?" He replies, 9, just one. The bartender says, "Make up your mind, 9 or 1. And you also need to know, really, if you're not a German speaker, that dry is 3 in German. I did a little bit of German when I was at school, so I find that, I think that's a reasonably good pun.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
West, yep.
Come a little bit close to your mics, guys, so everyone can hear you, because otherwise they knock on the window outside and they start telling me, like, tell them to talk up a little bit, because I've got the big mouth. It's just but we want to hear. We want to hear what you're saying too. So now, before we get into the news, we have also our 3 questions of the week. So our 3 sort of deep diving, get under your skin, find out everything we need to know about you kind of questions. All in 3 quick questions, right? So I've had a psychologist on the show, and they've unofficially certified these as being, deep dive, like real deep diving, right? So I don't think they'd actually probably put a hand up to that, to be completely fair. But anyway, so these are your 3 questions. So think about these carefully, because there are some wrong answers in there. I'm just warning you. Cream teas. You have a scone, you have jam, you have cream. What goes on first, the jam or the cream?
100% the jam.
That's a good answer,
Yeah.
Bridget.
Being English, the jam.
The jam?
But being me, the cream.
Holly, that is the wrong answer.
How does that even work?
You can't spread jam on cream.
Yeah.
You just can't. And those people in Devon that swear that that's the right way to do it back in the UK are wrong. It's as simple as that.
Clearly.
They're not supported by science. They're not supported by fact. And, the fact of the matter is, jam, cream.
But if you want it pretty, you got to pipe the jam.
And this is a new one for me, because we've never considered pipe jam.
No. That's a lot of work, though.
It is. It feels like that to me as well,
Yeah.
Bridget. To be fair,
Yeah.
that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
That's a lot of care.
Just to throw it in just to cram it in your face as quickly as you possibly can, because it's glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It is glorious.
It is glorious. That's one of my favourite things when I go back to the UK is get out to the West Country and just go and find a Cornish cream tea, because the people in Cornwall do it properly. Jam, cream, clotted cream, like this thick, luxurious. Oh, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
That's the only question you get wrong on my show. So one of you got it right. One of you not. I don't know. I'm not sure you're right or wrong at this moment in time, because you kind of you went with the right answer, and then you said for yourself, you kind of hedged your bets, didn't you, Holly, to be fair?
Well, to be fair, I don't like right and wrongs. It's to be different, and I like being different, so I'm right in my mind.
Well, that's all right. Well, I'm not going to tell you you're not right, because I know better than that. But second question, who is your favourite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Oh.
Raphael.
Good answer. There's no wrong answers. There's no wrong answers with the Turtles, I have to say. No wrong answers with the Turtles.
Leonardo.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. No, they're all good. All Renaissance painters, all fantastically, awesome, awesome human turtles. I was going to say awesome human beings, but they're not. Awesome turtles, all of them. The next one's a thinker, right? So the last one really gets under the skin. Proper thinker. Would you rather be in jail for 5 years or be in a coma for 10 years?
Jail.
Bridget's gone jail. Bridget's gone jail. What about you? What about you, Holly?
I don't think I could decide out of those two.
Don't think you could decide that too. So you got to pick one. You got. I mean, even if it's like only just
Okay.
one more favourable than the other.
I'm going to say jail. I feel like there could be a lot more mischief in there.
Yeah. I agree.
So you two both going to jail.
Yeah.
And I'm going for the coma.
Are you?
Yeah.
You like your sleep and you
I
like
love
your food.
to sleep. I
Yeah.
love to sleep. I mean, think of the amount of food I can sleep off.
Yeah.
In a coma, like genuinely, I could especially if you know it's coming, because you're choosing at this point, aren't you? Right. So you know the coma's coming. Like serious, like going to a real food coma, like get it, and then just literally just digest for 10 years. I think
That's fair.
And I'm not sure I'd survive prison. I'm too pretty.
You are.
It could be more scary waking up to a different world in 5 years, though.
10 years.
10
10
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Well, that's it. Like, well, that's the other side of it. Like, when that's the whole point. At least in prison, you'd kind of know what was changing while it was changing.
Yeah.
Coma. 10 years later, you wake up and kind of go,
Yeah.
you're gonna find out that Justin Bieber's dead.
Well, that's right.
Or
Yeah.
there's pop stars you don't never heard of again. You've got to learn all that again. Like, I struggle with that as like during real time. Like, working out who am I supposed to like and who I'm not. I mean, will Lewis Capaldi still be around? Who knows in 10 years?
Very unlikely. Don't know who he is, but yeah.
Oh, you don't know who he is?
No.
Oh, you need to Google him.
Okay.
Oh, he's a fantastic, fantastic singer. He's got Tourette's as well. So he can't. He's coming to New Zealand soon. Next later on this year, to, November the 30th and December the 2nd, I think, he's doing Christchurch and Auckland. He cancelled his last tour because he's actually got like serious Tourette's. So sometimes he goes on stage and he actually just literally can't sing. There's an absolutely awesome TikTok, because I'm hip and down with the kids on my TikToks, where he goes out on stage at Glastonbury in 2023 and he can't get the words out because he's actually having a Tourette's moment. He's got the tics going on and stuff, and the crowd sung his song back to him.
So beautiful.
And it was absolutely stunning. And he literally just came out at Glastonbury 2025 with his latest single. Like, he's been away for 2 years, but he's an absolutely fantastic song. So his songs are real big, like power ballads. So if you're into those, Bridget, genuinely, he's got a stunning voice.
I will, if ever we.
And he's the second funniest person from the UK after me as well.
Right, of course.
He's hilarious as well.
Yeah.
So, but definitely worth listening to his songs. That's the important stuff. The rest of the show is just kind of like, just filler after this, because we found out everything we need to know about you, really, pretty much. Yeah. But I do want to talk about the three topics of the week. So, first topic is road cones. All right. So, in a world where, in a country where we're struggling to put food on tables, to house our homeless, to deal with inflation, housing crisis, God knows what else, the government has decided its wisdom that they just want to focus on less road cones, and are actually threatening to throttle funding to local councils if they use too many road cones, right? And they haven't really said what too many is, but they're just trying to make it so that we use less road cones. Now, if everything else was kind of sorted, I'd get it, right? Genuinely, one extra road cone out is probably a cost minimal, but 10 extra road cones, yeah, there's a cost. But there's other things in my mind. There's other things that we should be putting our attentions and our focus to, and then you could argue the government's big enough that it can focus on multiple things at once. But the things it's focusing on, in my mind, need more focus, not us focusing on how many orange cones are out in the street. Because to me, an orange cone is acted to save someone, is to protect people, is to actually, I used to work for a recruitment company and we put temporary workforce people out there. So we used to train them up to be like traffic controllers and STMS and people that go out and do these temporary roadworks. And everything was done for a very valid reason to keep people safe. But to just kind of sort of like, just kind of go, we just need less road cones seems like fundamentally to be a focus of attention that we could be focusing our energies on actually doing more, putting someone in the house, putting someone, helping someone who's disabled, helping anyone anywhere. Does that make sense? What are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
My thoughts are we could probably, I'm sure there's a road cone in every house, right? They're really, really useful out there. So there's a lot of road cone spare happening out there, but there's huge losses everywhere. Definitely the focus, food, kai on the tables, people out there living on the streets. There's a lot more focus needs to be. I mean, part of our role is we're seeing people without funding in every door we look at. So, I'm sure we could all go find a road cone to help out.
Yeah. And why pick on the road cones?
I know it just doesn't. It seems one of those things. It almost feels like a distraction to me.
Yeah,
genuinely. Like let's if we're focusing on road cones over here, and you're counting road cones, maybe you're not paying attention to me over here while I'm getting this part of my job wrong. And like I say, if everything was sorted, if we had like the house cost of living crisis under control, and we had the and we had housing under control, and we had supply of social housing, community housing under control, and we had everything going well, and everyone was getting tax relief, and everyone was getting unemployment was right down, then you can go, well, now what do we do? All right, well, let's start counting road cones. That makes sense to me.
Are they going to put the cost of that road cone? 'Cause road cones aren't cheap. Are they going to put the cost of those road cones back to where it needs to be, or?
Well, I don't know. This is what I don't know. I mean, but the thing for me is that what they're doing is they're throwing it back at the local government as well. This is something that I see happening, or it seems to be happening quite a bit. Is they're kind of going, here we are in central government, bearing in mind that central government make all the damn rules, right? So everything below central government is dictated to by central government. So in context, anything a local council does is literally wrapped up in a huge amount of legislation that they have very little control over, right? So 90% of what councils do is dictated to them by the Local Government Act and all the other laws that sit above us, all right? So, but the central government at the moment is sitting there going like, we're doing a wonderful job. Look at us and how wonderful we are. And this local government people, they're not doing their stuff properly. They're charging you more for water rates. They're charging you more for rates. And I think it's disgusting. They need to stick to their knitting. And yet they're dictating how many road cones a local council can use. And that there's a massive hypocrisy there, because actually they're governed by that. And again, they're trying to make it look, they've just published some figures on trying to help people try and compare their local council to other local councils, right, without any real context. And you just kind of go like, you're just trying to deflect from the fact that you're not doing the job that the country in general thinks you should be doing, and you're trying to make it out to be local council's fault. Council rates going up. Well, they're going up because you guys repealed the Three Waters reform that was going to take water rates and make it a central government thing, and you've put it back on local government, and they've got to now find the money to pay for all the infrastructure to support that when the central government was going to do that and do it cheaper. And you look at that and kind of go, and then they're complaining that the rates have gone up. And that's central government are complaining that the rates have gone up when they've dictated that it has to happen. And that's the bit where you kind of go, and the same with the road cones. Yeah. Let's move on from road codes.
Yeah.
Pay wave and credit card surcharges. We hate it, don't we? When we go in there, I do. I've got my card set up because I don't like the fact I've got pay wave on my credit cards and they're sitting in my pocket, and someone could just come by with an FPOS machine and just swipe past my backside and take $80 from me. So I turn pay wave off on my credit cards because I can, but I have it on my phone so that I can. So it recognises my face, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Trying to get to I've only just got a face recognition phone. I'm struggling. I look like my nan.
Yeah.
Trying at the counter, trying to line the damn thing up to take my photo, put my photo in so I can pay wave and stuff. But you see that you get a surcharge, right? no one really likes them. Some places charge the cost. Some people seem to charge like bloody 3% or something stupid. Government's come out and said, we're going to ban retail outlets from charging the surcharge, right? Which initially seems like that's a good idea, but they haven't stopped the banks from charging the surcharge, right? So I was talking to a cafe owner yesterday who said, but you got to remember as well, what's not being mentioned, and it should be clear, is that what they've also done is they've actually, the money that the banks are charging, they've actually gone, and in the background they're saying they've got to charge less, right? So the banks might have been charging 2% before, all right, but they're actually saying when the changes come in, they'll only be allowed to charge a lot less than that, right? So the cost that's being passed to the retailer will come down, right? But they're also saying that the retailer can't pass that cost on, right? Mm-hmm. So some retailers will go, well, I can't afford to absorb that cost. I'll have to put it on the price of
100%, yeah.
of the goods that I'm selling, which then means that technically the government has now put a surcharge on someone paying cash, because you can't have a price for cash price and a card price. So in order to be able to pass that charge on, even small or big, they've got to increase all of their product range, and therefore they've actually, rather than reducing surcharges, they've increased surcharges onto all the things that they weren't charging surcharges on before, which seems a little bit backwards to me, personally.
It does.
But it is important, because a lot of the conversation has been about the fact that they've just, I think the guy I spoke to yesterday said that his annual pay wave charge is like 18 grand, right? So if he's going to pass that on, that makes sense he passed it on. But what he did say was that some people were making profit on it, because instead of charging 1.5%, they were charging 3%, and that's dodgy, right? That to me, they shouldn't be allowed to make profit on that if it's a cost, pass it on direct cost. So they're going to reduce it in the background, but then it then falls down on the business whether they absorb it or they pass it on. And then you've got our wonderful friends, people like the bowling club, where they say they have a sticky price, so they can't really pass it on because their food is $5 for a meal, right? Yeah. They're not going to suddenly start charging $5.10 for a meal, because that doesn't work in their business model. And to go to $6 goes the other way, and they're trying to provide things at the bottom level. So there's a business that will actually have no choice but to absorb it.
They will, yeah.
But they're also the kind of business,
and they don't have the ability to,
that doesn't have the scope within their business model to just suck that up and be fine.
There's been a lot of small business owners very upset about it too. It's also, they feel absolutely terrible, and when they have to tell the customer, and that awkward conversation when they have to explain to push the extra button and do you mind this surcharge, that's actually been really awkward for them. And, the cost small businesses struggle as it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
And the stupid thing is the banks still make billions, right? There's not a bank out there. Even when the banks were having with the global financial crisis, they were still making profits, So you kind of look at that and go, I know they need money to do the things that they do, and we rely on banks, etc. It's all part of the corporate capitalist world. But if a bank's making billions, why aren't they actually just going no surcharges at source?
Yeah,
because that at least would help the cost of living crisis. This is inflation. In my mind, this is inflationary. This is actually something that's going to put the cost of goods up. Maybe not everywhere, but the cost of goods and services up, which in itself is an inflationary increase. And then now suddenly, and they're saying they're on top of the house cost. I don't think anyone. I think the premise is a good one, but I think what's happened is they haven't quite gone back far enough in the process to figure out what the actual run-on effect is going to.
They've taken the easiest route,
which
is to take it from our wallets, our pockets, and the pockets of the small businesses. Yeah,
but then even then, between Nicola Willis and Christopher Luxon, they couldn't actually decide what should be happening. But again, it's like, get on the same page. Like, at least if you're going to have a message, regardless whether it makes sense or not, but at least be on the same page. One saying the business should suck it up, the other one saying the business should pass it on. I mean, like, who are we supposed to believe? Which becomes a little bit kind of more You know, again, it makes you think you haven't spent enough time talking about it because you haven't even had the meeting where you've all sat down in the room and agreed on what you're going to say. You know, so that kind of tells me you haven't spent enough time dealing with something. You know, and then the last one, very topical at the moment, electoral law changes. So again, this government's come out this week in my mind, to fix a problem that doesn't actually exist. But fix a problem, you know, it's a problem. It's a policy change that was looking for a problem rather than a policy change that was fixing a problem. And rightly or wrongly, that's my personal take on it. But they're saying that from the next election, you will not be allowed to register within 13 days of election day. Whereas before, you could literally register up to onto election day, and cast your vote, right? Now, the thing that the multiple things that I find strange about that is I don't think any government, regardless of whether they're blue, green, yellow, Labour, National, Greens, I don't care, Winston First, whatever, should be able, as a majority government, to change electoral laws to either suit themselves or not suit themselves. In my mind, that needs to be someone that's cross-party. Every single party that's in Parliament has to agree to that unanimously for any election. Because if I get in power, I go, well, last time I almost missed out because of this. I could change it so that doesn't happen this time, and then that favours me. That favours me at the next election, and that's exactly what appears to be happening right now, because 100,000 people registered to vote and voted in that last 13 days last time through. Yeah.
Looks like I won't be voting.
It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, 100,000 people, right? So just and then the Attorney General, who happens to be a national MP, Judith Collins. I never thought I would be sitting here in my life thinking Judith Collins was the voice of reason in anything, like let alone this, is coming out and saying it's against the Bill of Rights, right? Because actually you're disadvantaging people that are probably, to be honest, are already probably disadvantaged by restricting their ability to take place in something that is a fundamental human right, and that is to vote.
Yep.
Right? We're not all so organised that we get registered within a certain period of time. We're not all so organised that we don't move or change address within that 13-day period prior. You know, we don't all stop our lives prior to 13 days before, 2 weeks before the election, and go, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to change my house address. I'm not going to make sure we're not that organised, right? You know, I'm lucky. I've lived in the same house in New Zealand for all my life, and since I've been here, I put myself on the electoral roll once, and that's it, right? Job done, right? My understanding, I only found this out this week, it's a legal requirement to be enrolled.
Yeah.
So it's compulsory,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
It's compulsory we have to be enrolled.
Yeah.
And then they make it harder. So hang on, you're telling me I've got to be enrolled,
Yeah.
but then you're saying I can't be enrolled, I can't do it in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Well, again, it's disadvantaging the people that haven't been in a space where they could.
That's making it so much harder for the ones that do need that extra time.
Absolutely, you know, and then to add insult to injury, this week a lot of people have found that they've been taken off the electoral roll. Some people have come off the Māori roll in particular. They found that they were previously registered and somehow they're not registered anymore. And you're looking at that and kind of going, well, hang on, there's something fundamentally messed up going on there, because it's not just one person, two people. It's not a conspiracy theory. People have sort of started and gone, it's actually I know people. I physically know people that have gone and checked their enrolment. They're no longer on either roll, right? And if they hadn't have checked, they couldn't have voted, right?
Yeah.
So when that kind of fundamental system error,
It's a wee bit suspicious.
Well, it is a bit suspicious. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's a technical snafu. But when that's available and that can happen, it's even more important that you allow people to register to vote right up until the moment, you know, so that they can at least go, you're not registered, I'll register now, or rather than you're not registered and they go, you can't register now for another 3 years. Well, you can register in 3 weeks' time, but your influence on anything that happens won't take place for another 3 years.
Yeah.
And that in my mind, is absolutely fundamentally against our Bill of Rights.
It's another way of closing doors.
It is. And
Because a lot of people with rejection as well, once that happens once, they go to enrol and they can't, they're not going to go back again.
no, exactly. So then they can run the risk of being fined, so disadvantaged further because they didn't bother to enrol, because they couldn't enrol, because they were told they can't enrol. It's a bloody self-fulfilling sort of like prophecy of circling down the drain that actually genuinely we should be like doing everything, and in my mind we should do everything in our power to make sure that these people have every access to everything, every tool that they need in order to do it, because not everyone has that advantage like I've got. Like I said, sat in the same place for 15 years, put my name on it once, there you go, right? Not intending to move for the next 15 years. So like, I genuinely, if I moved, changing my details will be the last thing on my mind on the electoral roll. I tell my bank and my sort of my Temu subscription, all those kind of the important people. Why are you laughing?
Old Timo. Old Timo.
We don't know about that, do we? No.
But the point is, you tell that's going to be right down the list of where you even think to remember to tell people, isn't it?
Yep.
And yet it's a fundamental requirement of law that we're actually registered.
It's just nuts.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like how do you want to make it any harder?
Yeah.
If it's required by law, why isn't there a better method of doing it than entrusting it to me?
We're just going to dangle it and then give you a consequence.
Exactly, and that doesn't feel right in my mind. And I say with people falling off this week as well, like literally just before the local elections are starting. And you've got until, the time has passed now to actually register and enrol online for the local elections unless you do a special vote. So you still can vote if you haven't enrolled or registered or had changed your details, because you just won't get the papers in the post. So that's okay for this election. But it won't necessarily be the same when they're talking about 13 days. We'll be in that period where you actually, you're right out of luck. Simple as that. Which doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't.
No, fair enough. Right, that's the difficult stuff. The next bit we're going to talk about is you guys. But before we do that, I'm just going to get a quick word from our wonderful sponsor.
Have you checked out Hazur Kebab yet? It's your go-to for a delicious lunch, a tasty dinner, or anything in between. Order online to save time and pick up some delicious, authentic Turkish cuisine in just minutes. HazurKebabCafe.co.nz. Dine in or take away at 906 George Street.
Do you like a kebab?
I love Hazur Kebab. I love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Holly?
Best.
I have this argument with my husband. Most weekends, no.
No?
No.
You're not a kebab fan?
I just don't like food touching.
Ah, you're one of those.
I am.
That's okay. I know a lot of people that are like that. So talking about that, because I love food. Right?
Yeah.
Me and food are friends. Yeah, I probably deserve to be about 15 times the size that I am. I just got a really high metabolism.
We learned that about you the moment you walked in the door.
Yeah.
That was the first thing and the only thing you talked about.
Was food. Because
Yeah.
it was my birthday yesterday and I had such amazing food. And it was what do you want to do today? Eat.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Where'd you get where's your happy place, Rich? My tummy. My tummy is my happy place, and I just want to eat, right? And I just enjoy food, right? That doesn't mean that I can't distinguish between good food and bad food, because people sometimes think, well, you'll eat anything, so it doesn't matter if the food's good or bad. No, I appreciate good food, and Hazur Kebab is good food.
Such good food.
Such good food.
Meat
right?
on chips.
The what?
The meat on chips.
Yep, genuinely one of my favourites. I'm like, routine's very strong for me, right? So if I like something, I go and eat the same thing over and over and over again. I can have the same meal every single day if I enjoy it. My wife can't. She absolutely hates if we've got two things the same in the week. It's like I can't do it. So I get Mustafa to actually pick my food now, so that I get something different every time I go there. Yeah, because otherwise I just have meat, chips, and salad, special mayo, and hot chili sauce, and that's all I'll eat. Because it's glorious. So it got to the point where I was going there. He was going, I know what you want, don't worry. Yeah. So I was like, so he came on the show and I said, you need to change that, because I know I love all the rest of your food too, because I love your food. So now he picks.
The kebabs are amazing.
He's now started making stuff up for me, like genuinely, like stuff that that isn't on the menu. So he just charges me like whatever he decides to charge me. I've got no idea. But he just then drops something in front of me. Go, there's something new. And so I eat that.
Yeah.
It's glorious. So I want to talk to you about your food touching.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like your food touching, would you go around and this is not criticism? Would you go around and eat each piece of food separately, or do you mix things up? Because my wife will eat every single different. So if she's got meat and 3 veg, she'll eat the meat, then eat 1 veg, then eat 2 veg, then eat 3 veg.
It's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the vegetables are last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you eat in order of enjoyment, or do you eat?
Yeah, I eat the things I like first.
Yeah.
And because I get very full quickly, and then but if it doesn't look right, I just won't eat it either. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My daughter won't have their food touching.
Yeah.
Refuses to, everything's got to be side by side.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a mixer. I want everything in every mouthful, and because I've got such a big mouth, it's a decent mouthful. Like everything just goes in. So
it's also why I pipe my cream and jam, because then you can just scoop it off and the cream's still there. You see.
We're finding more about you, Holly. That's good. This is an exploratory interview. That's the whole point, is to find out what people are and to find the differences in people. Because I genuinely find your way of eating is no different to, it's no better or worse than my way of eating. But it's always interesting to see the different people. So I want to talk about you guys and the Fern Collective. Okay, I know nothing about it. Genuinely, and many of my listeners, or both of them, whichever way, depends who's listening. My wife's at work, so it might be down to one. Right. To be fair, so my listener might not know anything about the Fern Collective. So what I'd like from one of you is kind of the 5 minutes Cliff Notes version of what it is you do and what it is Fern Collective does, and why it's important in the world that we live in. If that makes sense, no pressure.
No pressure taken. So Fern Collective, I founded it first as a solo practice as a social worker. Why I went to that journey is that I found that there was nothing out there for neurodiverse families with my own journey. And then later getting diagnosed as an adult, it became even more isolating. You get your diagnosis and then you're told to go on your little way. Found it through education, found it in workplaces, it just wasn't understood. And so for my own journey, I went on with my family. I then went and trained to be able to support my own family because there was just no help out there or no one that understood. It came with a lot of shame, a lot of whakamā. And then when I started my training, I started doing psychology. I went to social work. I'd done heaps of different roles to try and find out what was how could I help, and then I realised that went right through to counselling and addiction clinician. What I realised is there was nothing there. I had to have all of them. So to be able to do a wraparound, and then that's when a little light went on, and I was like, well, we need something that can offer everything that someone just understands. So it's lived experience as well. So I started Fern Collective doing therapeutic. Then I started growing a team, and so a lot of my team have come through me or have worked with me in different situations, whether it's education, ECE, hospitality, and they've all had a similar journey. And then so we all got together and kind of Fern Collective just kept growing and growing and growing. So we offer everything from the therapeutic to respite. We do in-home cleanings for whānaus that need it. We do grocery shopping, we do playgroups, and then from that we realised that there was, again, the youth had nothing outside of homes or school. So we started youth groups because a lot of the families we work with too, neurodiverse or chronic illness, they don't fit in your normal groups or your normal youth groups. They're too overwhelming, they're too loud. So we made smaller youth groups in a safe space that they know. And then the other ones are we go outdoor and we go back to nature and get our feet wet and we walk along the sand and we just talk and we connect. They have the same people, they have the same time, they have the same days. They got to know the team as well, so we slowly introduced them. We started getting called from parents and going into education centres just to help whether it's talking to the staff and getting them to understand what accommodations are needed or how to work with particular children. It's, the biggest thing is just the whanangatanga as well, like getting out there and actually talking to people and being alongside them and hearing their journey don't instantly just jump in there to problem solve. It's sometimes they just need someone to be alongside them and sit with them. And so that's kind of Fern Collective. Is, I think the question is, what don't we do? And it's not that we try to cater for everyone, well, we do in a way, but it's we just, whatever comes up for them, we try to support them. And if we can help that out, whether it's a youth group or it's the parent education sessions or it's going to school huis, or sometimes it's just going out and going to the museum with them, then we try to support alongside that.
So neurodiversity, again, for people listening, perhaps don't understand what that encompasses. Like maybe a brief understanding of what that means from your point of view, pretty please.
So I'm a neurodivergent. I'm autistic and ADHD. My children have got their own ADHD and autism. So we're a neurodiverse family. So it's more than one and more than one of the challenges there. And then so a community of neurodiverse people, it could be anything from ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dysgraphia. There's a whole broad range, OCD. So there's a complexity of challenges there.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that each one of those challenges comes with different challenges. So I couldn't think of another word, but they're all kind of wrapped up differently, aren't they? Even though they kind of sit under that giant umbrella of neurodiversity. Because we had did you go and see the Neuro Spice Girls, the show?
We did. It was brilliant,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I had Kim and Marama and Lizzie, who wrote the show. They came on a few weeks back.
Yeah.
What amazing human beings putting that work out there to kind of highlight the things that I was blown away by the show. And I mean I wouldn't consider myself neurodiverse in any way, shape, or form, and not because I'm trying to avoid the label or anything. I'm fairly reasonably certain I'm not. But my daughter is. They connected with that show as well as being such a fantastic. They were recognising themselves in a lot of what was going on.
I actually, we messaged Lizzie. We went our team went along, some of our team, and we messaged Lizzie and just said how real it was to see almost our stories replayed in front of us in some form.
Yeah,
it was powerful. Yeah,
it was, and whilst it couldn't be, I wanted that auditorium to be so big that everyone was there to see it, if that makes sense. But of course, that wouldn't have met with the people that needed to hear the message. Like my daughter struggles with being in noisy places and those kind of things, and that gets on top of them. So it was just an amazing sort of piece of work that was like I wish them so much success with taking that around and actually opening eyes to people. But I guess you're once that diagnosis is there, you're the people that are potentially helping put some things together and systems in place for people when they need them.
Our door's always open. Even people that aren't diagnosed, we go along that journey with them. Especially families that are unfunded and have nowhere to go. In terms of organisations, we work alongside organisations so that as they're going through that diagnosis journey, we can support them earlier on and be collaboratively working with the organisations, and then we can carry the whānau on as well. Because I think it does take a community to support these whānau. Yeah.
So how do you get funded? Where does the money come from to do, or is it down to volunteers and wonderful human beings? Because I see a lot of the conversations I have with people in spaces like yourselves is it comes just down back to wonderful human beings that are doing this off their own volition and without literally on the smell of an oily rag, and they shouldn't be. It's like, again, it's one of the criticisms that I've got of government full stop, whether it be this government who have got it worse and worse and worse, but even the previous governments, is that stuff like what you're doing is not funded anywhere near enough, and it should be.
So we're completely unfunded.
Right.
When I started Fern, I worked my little bottom off, and everything I earned that wasn't needed for my own whānau went into opening the spaces. then we had teams come along. So I've had, including Bridget, and we've had whānaus come along and help us. We've had a couple of lovely grants, just little ones from around local communities who actually take the time to see what we do. A lot of the time it's too hard or too complex. We are a limited business because that was the other thing. We opened up as a business because I started as just me and thinking I was going to go into business, and it didn't end up that way. It's ended up still being a business, but it's the aroha and the hearts, everything goes back into it. Parents pay. We do a lot of fundraising and promoting to try and cut costs for families. We've had some businesses sponsor families for us so that they can come along for a term. But basically everything that comes into the business goes back into the whānaus. We've held some funding for families before that couldn't afford. We've sponsored, we've put our staff into schools that couldn't afford teacher aides. Basically, yeah, we just keep going. A lot of my private work will go back into the business, which obviously won't forever be able to do that. But yeah, we've grown incredibly quick in 2 years.
Is that all it's been? It's been 2 years?
It hasn't quite been 2 years, yeah.
Right.
So we're very new, yeah. But already very reliant. We're in most schools. The downside is too, a lot of the schools that want to use us and want to support us because we're not an education provider, it's hard for us to keep supporting families. The therapeutic costs, they can get funding from Kia Roha and MSD, but it's again, if they're a middle income earner family, they're not entitled to any of that. So we work really closely with all those organisations and the lovely teams in Dunedin to find those back doors, because we are often the naughty cats sitting in the naughty corner in most business meetings and most organisations, because we are there and we are the voice of the families. Like, they need to be heard. They might not fit the education system. They might not fit the business employment model, but there are ways around it. It's just sometimes some clever thinking.
Right. So I'm guessing there's no age limit to who you engage with or look after.
Our current youngest one is 2, and we've lost our oldest client who was 96 earlier in the year. So
wow.
Yeah, we are literally an open door policy. We focus heavily on. We see a lot of families at home too, the chronic illness families. So we support families that are always looked down upon or look like they're always asking for help. Well, they're asking for help for valid reasons.
Or just not seen. They're not seen.
Yeah, they're not seen. They're not heard. We do a lot of work with elderly. We do a lot of work with single families as well, or co-parenting families where it's really hard with a neurodiverse child to even find a balance. Yeah.
Yeah, because that must be tough in a family split when you've got neurodiverse. Because one of the things that affects many neurodiverse, I'm guessing, is that change. That there's continuity is a very important part of their routine, etc. And I talk as a person of routine. Maybe I am neurodiverse. I mean, I genuinely could be actually, but it's because if things are out of place for me, if things aren't tidy, I get very anxious. My wife thinks I've got a little bit of OCD, and I wouldn't be surprised if I do. Because I think about the tea towels. Not the tea towels, the towels on the rail. They have to be. Yeah. You're giving me that look, aren't you, Holly?
Yeah.
They have to be hung right.
They do.
Yeah, they do. They've got to be right. It's just and I have to if I wash my hands, I have to dry my hands before I wash them again.
Yeah. The tags have to be the right way around too.
I'm not that far. As long as they were on the right rail, because my wife had this thing where she would take the towel off the heated towel rail, so lots of different rails on the heated towel rail. So she would take the towel that's on the second rail off, and then put it back on the fourth rail, so it's now hanging lower. And then there's still a towel on the third rail that's now, which is in the right place.
Doesn't look right.
And I'd fix it. They've actually got a lot better. They've actually realised that I do have a problem with it at the moment, and so they're now much better at putting it back on. And just like it's like a weight's been taken off, like genuinely, like a weight's been taken off. But less about me. But it's about routine. That's the point I was taking. Is that, so like if you've got whānau that are, we can't guarantee that the person we're with today is the person we're with forever, and the family unit that we have right now is the family unit that's going to stay the same ad infinitum until So, those changes they're traumatic for people that aren't, I would guess, neurodiverse. But it takes it, there's another level, I'm guessing, when that's going on as well. And then you're trying to work across two separated spaces to do that.
It can become very toxic as well, which is really sad. But it can also cause even more barriers when we're trying to get funding for families, and then it just changes the circle, and then there's just so many complexity layers to it. And as you said, the weight off your shoulders, just those little things aren't understood for a lot of people, and so the weight on their shoulders and the stress that they're carrying every day when they're getting overwhelmed or overstimulated or understimulated, it's just not understood. It's not that like they want to do it deliberately. So
no, that's it, isn't it? I mean, that's the other side of it. And again, if you're in a school environment, I'm guessing, like, I'm nowhere an expert. I'm just kind of picking up on some of the cues that you guys are throwing down, in the sense that if you're in school and you're being overwhelmed and now you're acting out, and the school's not recognising it's because you're overwhelmed, and they just think you're just acting out, then there's some blame, and there's some there's lots of other things that are going on in that situation that is only compounding the issue with that poor child, however they're dealing with it. Not understanding that is not good enough.
No.
I think there's a big hard one, that too, and we're very lucky in Dunedin, and we have amazing, incredible schools. But the problem is schools are under-resourced. There's not enough teacher aides. There's not enough funding. There's not enough funding for outside organisations to help out. So the teachers in that are doing what they can with the many students they have, but there's just some places that just aren't right, and some of our children just struggle at school. So it can be some, not enough training or not enough. I mean, we could go on for ages, but at the same time too, there's just not enough resourcing to the schools to be able to support.
The other side of it too is the masking that goes on. So if a child goes into school and they spend all of the energy masking throughout the day to hide those things, those traits, and then they go home at the end of the day and they explode. But the school sees the good child, the well-behaved child, and so they think they're doing fine. And there's the lack of recognition of what's actually going on for that child. It's certainly a thing.
That was something that came out of the show, the Spice Girls, that really that hit with me really quite hard, was that whole masking thing. The fact that actually there is a protection process going on from the child's point of view, or the adult's point of view, regardless. That you're putting on a perception of what you need to, but you can only do that for so long. You can only play the part of the perfect student or the perfect worker or the perfect housewife, the perfect house husband, the perfect partner, whatever, for finite periods of time. And there's going to be bits in between that actually you can't. They're different, right? You're going to struggle to contain yourself.
Yeah. There's just so many limitations. Like even the bigger organisations themselves, like the Ministry of Education, they have their own limitations of how much they can do. We've got, like the funders, there's so many rules and so many restrictions and red tape. They just don't allow. So no matter how much, I don't know how many meetings I've been to, and it's been the staff that are crying for the whānau or so upset about the whānau that because they literally cannot do anything to help these families, even though that we know they're crying out for help, they're stuck, they're not getting the support they need. We've had a lot of funding that have been cut for various reasons. We work alongside other organisations as well. They keep asking us to come in and help and do that. We're always reminded that we're not a school, but we have a lot of children and youth under us in school hours. So because there's nowhere else for them to go, where are they meant to go if they don't fit? Are we meant to isolate them? Because that's what's happening. They're getting isolated because there's nothing out there for them, and there are things out there for them. They can have quite a happy life. They can succeed in anything they want to do. There's not one youth out there that I think is not able to succeed. They all come with their own everything. They're so powerful and creative, but it's just the red tape. There's
The
so much
system.
red tape.
I want to come back to the system in a second. Before we do, I want to get a quick word from our sponsor again.
Have you checked out Hazur Kebab yet? It's your go-to for a delicious lunch, a tasty dinner, or anything in between. Order online to save time and pick up some delicious, authentic Turkish cuisine in just minutes. HazurKebabCafe.co.nz. Dine in or take away at 906 George Street.
We've got 5 minutes left. I told you this would run real quick and we'd run out of time because it's just like I flap my gums quite a bit and it just, I fill up the space. I've heard a number of times as you're talking about helping people with their funding. Is it something that you helping whānau get funding from government and MSD and all other bits and pieces? Is that again part of your remit, is to actually sit down with people to kind of make sure they're getting access to the level of services, as much as red tape as there out there, is what that part of what you're doing as well?
I don't know how many hours or conversations that we have that could be spent with the rangatahi, with our youth, with our kids, rather than talking about all of those things, because there's so many blockers getting funding that we're spending hours talking about getting funding, but there's actually no door to go through. So
Right.
we're having these continuous conversations, even though that we know that there's no tape there, because every organisation is trying so hard to find doorways to open up for families.
But families don't know about the fact they've got these avenues either, I'm guessing, because no one sits you down as a parent. I mean, because no one's ever done this to me and said, look, if you end up in a situation where you've got this, and this, these the avenues you can pursue. It's really difficult. I'm trying to get an ADHD diagnosis for my youngest at the moment, and it's nigh on impossible. Even with a supportive GP, it's nigh on impossible to try to get that process started, let alone be involved in the middle of it and actually get an outcome and some resolution towards the end of it. And I would consider myself to be a fairly forthright and resilient kind of person. I'm quite a bit of banging the desk to get what I need to get, especially for my own family. But it's hard bloody work, like genuinely, and no one's helping me. I'm not asking you guys for help or anything, but what I'm saying is that if it's tough for me, and I genuinely tend to know what I'm doing, it must be an absolute minefield for so many.
Mm-hmm. We've seen so many tears, so many waiting lists, so many. The families are at absolute breaking point. Absolute breaking point. We've got families that are going without food to try and pay for the repetitive doctor's appointments to go back and get silly forms signed. We've got families that are struggling to even get heating in their houses. Yet they're getting told that they don't need help, they don't need support. We've got GPs that are fantastic and doing all the sign-offs and writing it, and it's clear as day. The schools are supporting, but it's just going nowhere. The wait lists are too long. There's not enough people around. I swear I could write a book on excuses. Yeah,
right.
I feel like that's a thing.
If people are listening and thinking, I'd like to help you guys out, are there ways that people can be involved? And we've only got 2 minutes left, but is that people to reach out to you to be involved, or to seek your help as well?
Definitely. We're please reach out to us, have a conversation with us. We ask businesses that have a little bit of funding, they can sponsor a child for a term to come to youth groups, which is beneficial. If we're out fundraising, please get in touch with us. We also put a lot of the distraction pack and sensory packs in the hospital. So if you've got pens to donate, pads to donate, please do. Any old marketing gear, like the distraction pack and sensory packs, the messages we've got from the family and the ED is that they're just a relief. They can really help. Have communication with us. Come and see us. Reach out to us. We're a very small team, so we are pretty stretched, but reach us on social media, follow us.
Is that the best place to find you, like on Facebook and places like that?
Yeah, follow us and see what we do, because we don't go out there and promote. We don't have time.
No.
So please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You'll see us. You can't miss us with the big writing hands on our T-shirts. But just approach us and talk to us. Okay,
and funding. If the government's listening, funding. Funding.
Absolutely.
I think
Please
there's so
listen
many.
to our families. Please listen to them. They're in breaking point.
Yeah, and that's the bit that hurts the most for me. There's too many governments have spent too much time punching down on the most vulnerable, and it's time we stood up and did something about that. To be fair, so
and stop blaming the schools.
Yeah, no, but they're doing their damnedest. I've got nothing but praise for the schools in Dunedin. Certainly, all the schools I've interacted with for whatever reason have always been fantastic and helping and doing everything they possibly can. Or and again, their hands are tied by the lack of funding. Thank you. I told you we'd run out of time. You've been awesome. Have you back any time. Thank you very much for coming on the show. If you just sit there, guys, and I'll just round out the show. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I've been Richard Knights, and you've all been wonderful. Remember, if you're looking for robust, respectful adult debate and about all things local and further afield, and a welcoming online community that doesn't take itself too seriously, come and find What's News Dunedin on Facebook and join our fun. On next week's show, we'll be talking to Rosemary Penwarden, grandmother and activist, and look forward to seeing you next Friday at 12 on OAR FM. And if you want to listen to the show again, or simply share it with your friends, you can find the podcast at oar.org.nz or even on Spotify or your favourite podcast provider.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.